The migrant crisis at our southern border is having an impact all across our country, from policy debates on Capitol Hill to stretching the resources of a number of cities. One of them right here in New York. Over 168,000 asylum seekers have come through this city's intake system since spring of last year, with over 69,000 currently in its care.
And joining us now is the mayor of the city of New York, Eric Adams. Mayor, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Good to see you both.
So what is your biggest concern right now, and what's the biggest challenge for the city?
It's always big issues in a big city like New York. But when you look at the migrant and asylum seeker crisis, as the numbers were mentioned, almost 170,000, it is Albany, we're 1.5 the size of Albany was dropped in New York City. And none of them could work for the most part. We were successful in getting 25,000 through our asylum seekers and through our work authorization, TPS. But there's so much more that needs to be done on a national level. And that's a real crisis, both financially as well as space.
Let's talk about space issues. There's a 60-day limit in these shelters for these people who are coming here. There's been a lot of criticism of that limit and that it puts families in danger. What's your response to them?
Well, I think, criticism is probably equal to any type of athlete. You're in the bleachers. Come in on the field. I'm on the field. And I know that 50% of those who have come to this city, over 50%, we have been able to self-sustain. We first did single adults with a 30-day limit. 80% of those who reached that 30-day went on to be self-sustaining. 20% we put back through the system. Now we're doing children and families where we're giving them a 60-day. No child or family will sleep on the streets of the city of New York, unlike other municipalities. We have become a national model on how to handle this, but this is a national problem. The national government needs to resolve this, not New Yorkers. We have been humane, we've led from the front, but you don't want a child to have a permanent shelter residency. That is unacceptable, and we're not going to tolerate that.
And I'm sure you've heard by now, you were mentioned in last night's debate on the topic of immigration. Let's take a look at this.
This is putting harm on our schools, on our hospitals. Taxpayers are paying for it. You see these mayors are now upset about it. The only reason Eric Adams is now upset, why? He shouldn't be a sanctuary city then. That's why we have to defund sanctuary cities. Now Governor Abbott finally did to them what's been happening to Texas for so long. We've got to put an end to this.
All right, Mayor, what's your reaction?
Well, national leaders should have national knowledge of policies. This has nothing to do with sanctuary cities. Migrants and asylum seekers are paroled into the countries. They're here legally. And so when you have a national leader talking about sanctuary cities, the reason we're having this is telling me she's not knowledgeable on the real topic. The problem is when you parole someone into a country, you should have a decompression strategy on a national level to spread it throughout the country and not target just certain cities. That's why you're seeing this real coalition of Chicago, Denver, Boston. All of these cities are now starting to realize that this is what Eric was saying, that this is not sustainable.
When you talk about not sustainable, it's also causing some real strain on the systems here in New York. There was a lot of backlash just this week about a high school in Brooklyn. There was a tent shelter. Those families, because of the weather, were moved into that high school. How are we going to continue to handle this? Because those parents were very angry.
Okay, and we need to be really clear about that, because there were people called in bomb threats, people who made some nasty remarks. That's not New York. Just because a numerical fringe group, 9, 10 people call in, we're 8.3 million New Yorkers. We've always used our school buildings during emergencies. During the fire in 2022, up in the Bronx, we moved those residents in school. When you have flooding, major storms, we move them into school buildings. When you have buildings collapse, we use school buildings. We're not going to say in the city that when we have an emergency that impacts migrants, we're not going to use our school buildings, because no matter what people say, if you look closely, these are still children, and adults should not ever put anything that's going to endanger children. Not one child or family sleeps on the streets of the city of New York because of what my team has done. We did the right thing, and those parents who are stating that we can't inconvenience someone for one day because of other children, that's not acceptable, and I'm not going to put children in harm's way.
So what's the overall fix, the solution? And can the federal government do more?
Right. Oh, yes, they can. The overall fix is cities, El Paso, Brownsville, Chicago, New York. Cities should not be handling a national crisis of this magnitude. We're getting, in average, and just think of this number. There are weeks we get 4,000 migrants that come into our city. When you have anywhere from 2,500 to 4,000 coming in a week, and you have to find housing, food, shelter, clothing, educating the children, health care, that's not sustainable. It's a $12 billion hole in the budget of our economy. It's going to impact low-income New Yorkers, and it's going to impact every service in this city. And I said it last year, we're going to start seeing the visualization of this crisis. We've done a great job, but we can't continue to sustain this.
And I do want to ask you, have you spoken directly with the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott?
We reached out and tried to coordinate with just the mean-spiritedness of this governor, who has his intentionality of just placing people on buses, compelling them to leave the city. That is why we're taking legal action. When you look at what he's doing, history is going to really reflect how much he has devastated the lives of people. Listen, this is a country of immigrants. The difference between what we did with Ukrainian citizens and other immigrants who have made their way here to this great country is we allowed them to work. This is so anti-Americans that we're telling thousands of people, you must come to a country and you can't provide for your children and families. That is not how we are as a country. And that is what is at the heart of this issue. We've never been this way as a country. We should not be this way right now to this group of men and women who are here. If we parole them in, then we should give them the opportunity that every other immigrant has had. And that is the right to move into the greatness of this country.
Mayor Eric Adams, we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.